Hello, I'm Professor Stephen Abbott, and in this series I will be using HSPiP to illustrate some of the power of Hansen solubility parameters. In this clip we will look at how Hansen solubility parameters can be used to replace one solvent with a rational solvent blend. Unfortunately, it happens all the time. Our favourite solvent just gets denied to us because it's no longer safe, or it's too expensive, or there's something else wrong with it. We need to find a replacement for it urgently, and doing it by trial and error is very inefficient. HSPiP turns out to be a really good way of finding a replacement solvent, or more usually a replacement solvent blend. To do this, we click on O to open this solvent optimizer. We have here a list of solvents with a lot of their properties, obviously their HSP, but also their relative evaporation rates, their Antoine constants, and so forth. Now suppose that your favourite solvent happened to be an N-dimethylacetamide. Now I know you wouldn't use that in practice because it's a very toxic solvent, but just for the sake of argument, let's do it. So here's N-dimethylacetamide. It's a really powerful, really good solvent. And what we do Control D to duplicate, it highlights it, and we go over here to the target area and just do Control P, and the HSP of dimethylacetamide is then copied to this area. So we now have a target solvent, and we want to know which of the solvents in this long list are closest to dimethylacetamide. Well, that's easy to do. We click on the distance button. As we discussed in a previous video, the distance is the sum of the squares of the difference between the dd, the dp and dh of the various solvents. Now the closest distance to our target is of course dimethylacetamide itself. DMF is also close. But interestingly, diacetone alcohol is not so far away. It's not a great solvent, but that might be an appropriate single replacement. NMP is also close, but again that's denied to us. Acetone isn't too bad. So there's some single solvent choices, but usually it turns out that none of these on their own can be used for cost, smell or whatever. So what we can do is say what two solvents combined would be the best match to this target of dimethylacetamide. Well, if I do it now, it will tell me that 100% dimethylacetamide is the best. That's stupid. So I'll just omit dimethylacetamide and I'll omit dimethylformamide. I just control click them. And now I ask for the two best, and it says actually a 50-40 mix of DMSO and a type of methanol is a close match. In fact, it's a near perfect match. It's calculated 16.8, 11.5, 10.1 compared to 16.8, 11.5 and 10.2. Let's be a bit more adventurous than that. I'll sort them by name so I can find them. An interesting solvent is FAME, fatty acid methyl ester, methyl soyate. Now FAME is good because it's green, it's biodegradable, everything, but it's generally a useless solvent. It's a fairly oily solvent, very far away from our target. In fact, its distance is 10.6, which is a very long distance in HSP terms. Another interesting solvent is glycerol carbonate, which in principle is derived from just glycerol and carbon dioxide. What could be greener than that? It also is a useless solvent in comparison to dimethylacetamide, and its distance is 15.9. But suppose in desperation I say, I want to use these two solvents. Tell me what is the best blend, or at least the least worst blend for this. So I say optimize that blend. I go to the top, and it tells me that a 60-40 blend of FAME and glycerol carbonate has an HSP of 17, 11.8, 9.7. The distance is just 0.7. So amazingly, the blend of two bad solvents can produce a good solvent. Now it's probable that these two aren't very miscible, and you might not be able to make a 60-40, but it's starting to show the principle of what you can do with a good solvent optimizer. And the idea that two bad solvents can make a good solvent is very strange to most people, but it's been well proven over the years. And it means that when you have to find a replacement for a solvent, you don't just have to look for similar solvents to it. If you're trying to replace DMA, you don't have to look for DMF. You can start looking widely. There are many other things you can do with the solvent optimizer, including showing the evaporation of different solvents, but we'll leave it at that for the moment.